This episode is brought to you by Ring. From package deliveries to lonely pets, Ring cameras and doorbells make it easy to check in from anywhere, right from your phone. Be there with Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends. It is Saturday morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Vibe. If you would like to be part of the program this morning, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. Would love to hear from, if you've never called this program before, if you've never called a radio program before, would love to hear from you. The Virgins, welcome aboard. Let the screener know that you are a first-time caller. We'll try to move you up in the list. We like hearing from new voices, but if you are a regular caller, you are certainly welcome as well. 800-848-9222 is the number to call. It has been a busy news week. Later in the program, Princess Diana will join us. Princess Diana sent me a story last night that has since gone viral. The story is everywhere. Kamala Harris sat down, went back to the well over at the ABC TV network and did an interview. First thing out of her mouth, a pre-canned word salad. I'm not going to talk about it until Princess Di comes, because I want to get her take on this story and the potential impact of it. The story is everywhere, so we will cover it, but there are so many other things to talk about. I want to engage in some of that conversation. I have been on a tear about the debates. I think it's time to retire these presidential debates as they are constructed. So I want to talk about that with you and get your opinion on it. Also, the Pope is at it again. Pope Francis says that American voters must choose the lesser of two evils when it comes to picking presidential candidates. He was asked how he would advise Catholics to vote in the U.S. election, given Harris's support for abortion right and Trump's position on immigration, which the Pope is just an open borders guy. And the Pope says they are both against life. To me, that is just the most disingenuous. I try not to criticize the Pope personally, but I'm going to just say I find that remark so disingenuous. I'm not accusing the Pope of trying to be disingenuous. I just find the remark disingenuous in my own mind. He says, the one who throws away migrants and the one who kills children. That is what he said. Now, let's listen to that part for a minute. Throws away migrants. Donald Trump, to me, does. Now, that's the Pope's point of view. Okay, that Donald Trump throws away migrants. My point of view is different. Donald Trump is trying to enforce American law, which is something that churches, not just the Catholic Church, but all churches used to preach. Follow the laws of your nations. Render unto Caesar. And that did not, by the way, include immoral laws that they found to be immoral. Now, he says this, and he says of Kamala, the one who kills children. The one who kills children. That should be underneath her picture. the one who kills children, according to the Pope. You have a choice to vote for a guy who is anti-illegal immigration or the one who kills children, which is a pretty strong statement. I mentioned at the outset that I am totally opposed to the way that these debates have been run. I do not believe that these debates, that any Republican, for that matter, if I were a Democrat, I would be opposed to them. Well, although they benefit from the bias that was clearly on display at the ABC Kamala Harris versus Trump debate. And that is what that debate was. It was Donald Trump against the ABC television network and Kamala Harris. How did we get here? That's a question I like. When you hear that question more often now from the journalists and the pundits who want to sound important and learned. So today I'm going to try to sound learned. How did we get here, my friends? How did we get here with debates? Well, if you went to school in the era that I went to school, you first took notice of debates in your social studies class, presidential debates. Of course, I've been watching presidential debates as long as I can remember. And I'm not kidding, as long as I can remember. I know for a fact that I first started getting interested in politics when I was a little boy, and I mean a tiny little guy, back when after John Kennedy was assassinated and Lyndon Johnson ran against Goldwater. But I first in school took notice of the debates, and we had to study debates with the most famous debates of all, and it was not a presidential debate. Many of you know what I'm talking about. Unless, of course, they have stopped teaching it altogether in schools. That would be the Lincoln-Douglas debates. 1858. Lincoln-Douglas debate, series of 7 debates between the brand new Republican Party candidate for the United States Senate in Illinois, Abraham Lincoln, versus the incumbent Senator Stephen Douglas, the Democrat pro-slavery candidate. And by the way, nothing much has changed there. Democrats are still the pro-slavery party, although that slavery is now one of economic slavery and cultural slavery. But they're still the party. Until the 17th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which provides that senators should be elected by the people of their states, was ratified, these senators used to be elected by people in their states. And Douglas and Lincoln were trying their best to win over the Illinois General Assembly for their party. So they held these debates, 7 of them. Why 7 of them? There were 7 congressional districts. So they went into each district to debate. The debates were designed to generate publicity, just like the ones are today. Then there was no phrase about media. So they were not called media events. Lincoln was trying to raise his national profile and that of the newly formed Republican Party. Douglas was trying to defend his record. He was a leader of the idea of popular sovereignty. So they went to the 9 districts. They decided where their joint appearances would be held in 7 of those districts. Now, Lincoln at the time was a one-term congressman. So these debates focused on the big issue of the day, slavery, which, of course, the Democrat Party, as I mentioned, then and now, was the party of slavery. These days, economic slavery, cultural slavery. That was it. Slavery was the big one. Whether new states that were coming into the United States through the Louisiana Purchase or the Mexican secession would be allowed to become slave states or not. Democrats, of course, wanted as many slave states as possible. They still do. Think about California, Oregon, Washington, New York, Detroit. Well, that's Michigan. And some of the other places where Democrats run. The debates were held outdoors if the weather permitted it. They began usually at 2 in the afternoon, and guess what? It wasn't just an hour and a half. They were 3-hour debates. 3 hours. Here was the debate format. And this, my friends, leads me to the point that I want to make about where we need to go as a country with presidential debates. 3-hour debates. One candidate spoke for an hour. That's how the debate started. The candidate went an hour straight. Then the opposing candidate got 90 minutes. And the opposing candidate spoke for 90 minutes. Then the candidate who had started off the debate with an hour speech was allowed a 30-minute rebuttal. And that was the debate. What is missing? Moderators, the media, the biased, I'll tell you what's missing, yes. The sorority sister of one of the candidates. Moderators chosen by a friend, a decades-long friend. Did you know that the ABC News division is run by one of Kamala Harris's oldest friends? In fact, the woman that runs it and her husband were introduced by Kamala Harris. They're buds. And, of course, it is not just ABC. You go back to the Candy Crawley-Obama debate where she inserted herself in it, much the way, Carlos, you're too young. You don't remember this. This was when Obama was running the first time against Mitt Romney. Candy Crawley jumps in and starts making her own fact checks during the debate. That was at CNN. I'm going to continue this. We got to take a quick break. But what wasn't in the picture at all during those early debates in America were media agitators, were media Democrats posing as journalists. They had no say. Birthday today, Heavenly Amy Winehouse. UK singer-songwriter. Her debut album, Frank, in 2003 was a critical success. Back to Black came in 2006. 5 Grammy Awards in 2008. Alcohol poisoning took her out. In 2011, she was a member of the 27 Club at that point. Happy birthday, Amy Winehouse. It's our Saturday morning vibe. Your calls are coming up. We're going to get to those calls, too. 800-848-9222.
Did you have to go to jail? But your house on a up for sale. Did you get a good lawyer? Hope you didn't catch a 10. Hope you found the right man who'll fix it for you.
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Rock to the west, but she's the gal that I love best. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Ooh, to the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Oh, wop, bop, loom, bop, lump, bump, bum. I got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. Boy, you don't know what she do to me. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Ooh, to the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Wop, wop, loop, bop. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. Boy, you don't know what she do to me. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Ooh, to the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Oh, wop, bop, loom, bop, lop, bam, boom.
I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray.
But when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
Sky was all purple, there were people running everywhere.
Yeah, a little music interlude there on our Saturday morning vibe. Some Prince. And, of course, Little Richard. Little Richard, this was the day that Little Richard went into the recording studio in New Orleans. Started to do 2 days of recording. Things weren't going well. During a break, he and his producer, Bumps Blackwell, went to the Do Drop In for lunch. Little Richard started playing piano and just started singing a very lewd version of Tutti Frutti. They ran back to the studio, recorded it. Hence, Little Richard became a big star. Okay, we had some calls, and we do have some calls. We'll have to get to your calls in a few moments, and we will start that process. But I want to talk more about these debates and also what's going on in Springfield, Ohio. So keep it right here on our Saturday Morning Vibe, and do not go away. Coming back shortly. Stay right here.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
$1984 on this day. The very late, the very great David Bowie won Video of the Year on the MTV Video Awards. For this one, China Girl was on the Let's Dance album. It is on the Let's Dance album. My man Omar Hakim is drumming on that. He did Let's Dance too with him. Nile Rodgers produced it. Nile Rodgers, of course, from the group Chic and so many other productions. David Bowie and Iggy Pop wrote this one. It first appeared on Iggy Pop's album The Idiot back in 1977. But the Bowie version, of course, is much, much celebrated. James Golden, it's the Saturday Morning Vibe. We're going to get to your calls really soon. I want to just wrap up very quickly on this idea of the debates. We don't need biased, pretend journalists in charge of debates. These are public airwaves. All of these network televisions, the airwaves do not belong to them. They belong to you, the people of the United States of America. They are granted a license by the government to broadcast on these network signals. We don't need them to run a debate. Let me propose something that I would rather see. Let's go back to the beginning. 2 candidates. No networks deciding what the agenda is going to be for the debate. They don't get to pick and choose which questions they're going to ask, which questions they're going to leave out. For instance, the folks over at ABC Television Network didn't even bother to ask Donald Trump about the assassination. 6 weeks before, you had a former president that was shot. Had he not moved, would have been squarely in the head, and he would be dead. You have all kind of rhetoric that this guy is Hitler, that this guy is this, he's a dictator, he's that, coming from the left. Not one mention of a near assassination attempt on a president's life. By the way, this is the anniversary of Garfield's death today. President Garfield from an assassination. Not one mention of that. Of course, you know that all the fact checks went Kamala Harris's way. And some of the things that Donald Trump said that were laughed at, that were called ludicrous, have turned out to be accurate statements. One of the biggest, of course, is the idea that Kamala Harris advocated for these transgender surgeries for illegal immigrants. She did. And the New York Times, Time Magazine, I believe, or the New York Times, or both, I'm not sure. I know for sure Time Magazine had to walk back their fact check on that. Their supposed fact check. Why do we need these people? We don't. What do you think would happen? Imagine, especially with what we know today of Kamala Harris responding to a question. Princess Diana is going to get into that. From the very same network. And it devolves into what it devolved into that is now going viral around the country. What do you think would happen if we had 2 candidates that just stood up here's the appointed time. You can have your little pretend journalist there. Hi, welcome to blah, blah, blah news. Welcome to the presidential debate. We turn it over now to the candidates. Boom. Candidate A. Hi, I am blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you what my vision is for America. And for the next 30 or 40, 45 minutes, whatever it is, they speak about what it is that they want to talk about to the American public. Then you have, hi, I'm candidate B. I'm candidate blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you what my vision is of America, and let me tell you how I disagree with what you just heard from that loser over there. And then they blather on. And then candidate one comes back and says, well, now you've heard from the loser over there. Now, this is loser me, and let me tell you what I think about what that loser said. And then you have maybe where the little host of the network comes in, the so-called journalist, and says, you know what, we have people in our audience. Suppose these things were held in each one of the swing states. 7 debates in the swing states or in other states. And you had regular people in town halls there. Not political props. And now let's go to some questions from the audience. And we take a few questions from the audience, and then the host comes on and says, and that's our presidential debate. Good night. Done deal. That is how a debate should run. None of these phony, so-called nonpartisan presidential commissions trying to stack the deck. None of these networks with friends of one of the candidate and sorority sisters of one of the candidates trying to fact check a candidate. Their job should be to just shut up and let the candidate speak for themselves. That's it. That's it. I like the idea. I think that the Republican Party is doing a disservice every time one of the presidential candidates goes on any of these mainstream media networks under the illusion that somehow there is going to be a fair debate when Democrats are the network. They're Democrats. Their finger is on the scale. And by the way, if they were Republicans, I'd say the same thing. What takes place is a charade. It's a charade. It is an illusion. There is no fair presidential debate as long as you have these so-called alleged journalists inserting themselves, either by picking the questions, picking the topics, or trying to put their finger on the scale by deciding in real time. These people, they act like they have the complete bandwidth to tell you what's right and wrong in every situation. This situation in Springfield is a prime example. What's going on in Springfield? Well, we talked to a politician over there, and these are all debunked. I have another example of that today. We have an interview from the mayor of Springfield, and this guy's a political hack. Of course. He's an elected Democrat. And you can tell it with his rhetoric. But I said we take first-time callers, so I want to do just that. We're going to take callers, not just first-time callers, but I want to give a special deference to first-time callers, so we go to Arkansas and check in with Willie. Willie, thank you for calling. You're on with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley. How are you this morning?
All right. Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Snerdley.
You're welcome.
Like you, I go back to the Kennedy-Nixon debates.
Yep. With Nixon sweating all over his forehead, with Nixon sweating because he wasn't given makeup and Kennedy was given makeup. That was the beginning of the partisan debates. Go ahead.
If we let Kamala win, we're going to become a third world country.
Become? Do you see what's happening in Ohio and many parts of the nation right now? Do you see what's happening in New York? Do you see what's happening in Colorado with these takeovers of this Venezuelan thug gang that's taken over? I think we are well on our way.
But anyway, Mr. Snerdley, I love Little Richard, James Brown, The Godfather of Soul, and Chuck Berry.
Me too. Thank you. See, politics and music, what a blend. We can always find things to agree on. Willie, thank you for the call. Let's go to New Jersey. We have another first-time caller, Charles in New Jersey. How are you?
Oh, it's a pleasure. Oh, God rest Rush Limbaugh. I miss him.
Amen.
What the Pope said about both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Well, again, I'm a Roman Catholic myself, and I'm pro-life. But the opposite of what happens is, God forbid, some girl gets an abortion. What happens is, if it was 50 years ago, she'd be in some back room with a butcher. And as far as like the illegal immigrants go, he's talking about how Donald Trump turns him out. Well, if he's upset about that, why don't he take some of them illegal immigrants from us and put them in the Vatican?
Well, you see, the Vatican, of course, has walls around it, and I would love for Donald Trump to just stand up one day and say, Pope Francis, tear down this wall. Let the immigrants come into the Vatican. Absolutely right, because there's a big difference between what they say and what they do. And I'm speaking of liberals in general. They tell you one thing, but their actions speak to their real intent. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Manhattan and speak with Ralph. Ralph, thank you for waiting. How are you?
James, great to talk to you, as usual. I listen all the time. You're a reasonable guy. Trump got his rear end handed to him by a non-entity named Kamala Harris. I mean, again, I don't care for either candidate, so I don't want to come off biased in any way, shape, or form, but if you're watching the debate, every single time she threw that bait at Donald Trump, he took it and he went with it. He got thrown constantly, James, and he did not stay on message. But that's nothing new because that's the way he operates many times. But here's the thing. When he gets his rear end kicked in November and all the right-wing talking heads are talking about how he got jobbed, how the moderators were in the bag, which they were, it's no fault other than his own. He dug his own grave, so to speak. And again, I want the lesser of the two evils. I'd like to see Trump gain office, but he'll get beaten. And, here's what happened in that debate. I'll bring it out. I haven't heard many people say this. The people that were going to remain on their couch are going to vote now. Not the undecided. There's not any undecided. But those folks that would ordinarily remain on the sofa that evening, they're going to go out and vote, and they may just vote for Kamala. That's just what may happen, James.
Let me just ask you a question. I'm not going to argue with you about your point of view. That's your point of view. So I'm okay. I dig it, respect it. But let me just ask you a question. Post-debate, what are we talking about in the country right now that is a direct result of the debate?
Here's what I think. She's a phony. She came across joy and happiness. She had that big, stupid grin on her face. And the American that doesn't engage as much as we engage, they're going to say, oh, look at that guy beating up on that poor woman there. She's smiling. She means nothing but good. Of course, because she's campaigning in the middle. She's going to be a president to the left of you know what. That's what the ordinary Joe that doesn't know anything is thinking. Or more so than Joe, it's the female out there. It's the ones that are not going to vote for Trump very easily. Those are the ones that are going to be persuaded, James.
Okay, well, let me just answer my own question this way. People are talking about immigration. Now, you may think, and again, I'm not going to argue with you about what you think, that Trump he bombed out, didn't answer anything. You look at what he said, and you look at what's happening now in public discussion. The single biggest issue that is dominating American news this week, besides the bias that was on ABC's so-called debate is the immigration issue and what is happening in Springfield, and they can't stand it. The media narrative is that all of this stuff is lies. It's all lies. Trump lied. But guess what? There are more people that are actually talking to residents of Springfield, Ohio, and getting their take. That would not have happened unless Trump spoke up.
You mentioned about
one of the other issues on the left that is dominating is this abortion issue. And once again, we had the journalist there, Kamala Harris's sorority sister, fact-check Donald Trump. This doesn't happen in the United States. Well, yes, it does. And there are any number of news articles now being circulated. I myself just went back and played the source remarks, and I'll play it again, from Governor Ralph Northam, when Donald Trump made the claim that, which the Times and CNN wrote articles about how awful he was to have used the term executed the baby. But guess what? It is forcing discussion on that because it did happen. He's not lying. In fact, I will play for you right now Governor Northam. Governor Ralph Northam, 2019, interview on a Washington, D.C. radio station. This is what Governor Ralph Northam said.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
Now, this is heinous. The governor said if an infant is born, we'll make it comfortable. Then there'll be a discussion. If it needs to be resuscitated, whatever, we'll ask the mama. Well, notice we're not going to ask the daddy anything. We'll ask the mama. And if the mama says okay, well, then I guess we'll have to resuscitate it. If not, fini, it's over. Donald Trump said that's what happened. He wasn't lying. The fact check from ABC is absolutely wrong. And by the way, that legislation was put up by Democrats to deal with late-term abortions that they claim never happen. They happen. And Donald Trump was absolutely right. And all this focus on immigration. Now, why does Kamala Harris want a second debate? If she cleaned his clock, like you said, that'd be enough. She can just ride her merry way to the election, only a few weeks away. They know. They know. Ralph, I do appreciate your call. We got to head to a break. Birthday today for John Power, singer-songwriter with The Laws. This was huge in 1990. One of my favorites. There she goes. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Remember this one? It is so pop. It is so bubble gummy. And it was such a big hit. In 1968, the first episode of the comic strip The Archies was aired on U.S. television. The TV show The Archies. Of course, this song was one of the biggest hits of the year. 8 weeks at number 1. Ah, sugar, sugar. The Archies. Veronica, Betty, Moose, Jughead, and of course Archie and Mr. Lodge. The rich Mr. Lodge. And Reggie. The Archies. Bo Snerdley, it's our Saturday vibe. Glad you're a part of it. You know, I want to talk very, very briefly. I'm going to grab more of your telephone calls coming up. We've got Lizzie Rattoballi coming up. But I want to talk very briefly about this idea of the Pope saying, vote for the lesser of two evils. One wants to get rid of immigrants. The other wants to kill children. The other who kills children. The entire abortion debate is something that a lot of us do not want to talk about anymore. We've heard it for how long? Ever since Roe v. Wade was put into law. Now that Roe v. Wade, thankfully, has been overturned by the Supreme Court, there's even more discussion. The entire premise of reproductive rights is another lie. They are not talking about reproductive rights. They are talking about the right to terminate life, not to reproduce it. Every single thing about this debate that liberals have engaged on is built on a lie. Now, the Pope can say that that is somehow equivalent to wanting to have legal restrictions on immigration, as a country's right is. But to me, there's no comparison. Coming back, our number duo coming up. Keep it right here.
This is the James Golden Show with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome back, my friends, with Hour 1 in the can. Our number duo is underway on our Saturday morning vibe. James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley. Glad you're here. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. We have been treated to a few, and we have a few more on hold, first-time callers. If you're calling from any one of our growing a list of affiliates around the country, let us know that too. First-time callers, welcome. Those of you who call on a more regular basis, also welcome. Of course, the debate, big hot topic today. Springfield, Ohio. We have some sound that maybe we can get to from some people in Springfield. The Pope's remarks, all of that. And it's time right now to check in with our very own Lizzie Rattoballi, who is a Red Apple media anchor. Lizzie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You sent me a story today that Lizzie, I've seen the headlines. I will admit, with all of the other news going on this week, I didn't click through to actually read the details of the story. I'm depending on you to tell me what's happening. The headline was from Colorado. A teenager shot in the face. And I didn't see the part by a town councilman. I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, it's...
What happened?
So it's an intense story. A 17-year-old boy from Colorado, him and his friend were trying to look for a good place to take their homecoming pictures. You know, it's kind of a tradition that you take these pictures in a nice scenic area. And at this home that they were kind of scouting, it had a really pretty pond on the property. So the teens went to this home and tried to find the homeowner. They were kind of, walking around the property looking for someone to talk to. And I guess what I'm assuming that, the specifics on how the homeowner found out about this, it's not clear. It hasn't been reported, but the sheriff's office gets a call from the woman who owns the home, notifying about some trespassers on her property. And she also called her boyfriend, who drove over to the home and blocked in the teens' cars from leaving, and then took out his gun and fired a round through the windshield of the teen's car, shooting him in the face.
Oh, my. Is the teenager alive, or was it a fatality?
The teen, miraculously is recovering and, luckily just, apparently missing a piece of their mouth, and part of their eye was injured. It was a brutal, you're shot in the face. That's a brutal incident. But, so what I believe happened was the woman, the homeowner, kind of saw these two teens on possibly a home camera, like a doorbell camera, those Ring cameras or the Nest cameras. So honestly, this story, and the shooter in this case is a doctor, a cardiovascular doctor, and also a council member of the town.
A doctor.
Yeah, this guy, that's not the kind of hot-headed, impulsive
shoot
decision.
First, ask questions later.
Exactly. That's not what you expect from a doctor, a trained medical professional. And actually, he apparently tried to help the teen after shooting him in the face because apparently it was an accident.
Nice.
He says, "Oh, my gun went off." He
didn't.
My
gun went off.
Yeah, he didn't
through
even
his windshield.
Exactly. It happens.
Shot him in the face.
I hate when that happens.
Let me help.
No, and then he tries.
Stuff happens.
He tries to help, and the teen's friend who was shot in the face says, "No, get out of here! You're crazy!" He pushes him away. He's, true friend in some sense because this is a crazy madman, but at the same time, it's this guy's a doctor. Maybe he can help.
Okay, now, Lizzie, I just have to say it because in defense of the homeowner and what happened here, put yourself in this situation, Lizzie. Woman is at home alone.
She is not home.
Two guys.
She is not home. That is the thing. She is not at home. She calls her boyfriend because she sees this on some sort of camera. She's actually not home at the time.
Oh, she wasn't even there. She
wasn't even
threatened.
there. No. Yeah.
Oh, I retract it. Why not just call the police and say, we got some trespassers at the property, let the police handle it?
She did, but at the same time, she also called her
boyfriend. But I mean, that's it. Let the police tell boyfriend, Mr. Doctor, town council member, hey, the police are on the way. They got it covered. But if you want, to pull out the gun and shoot?
Yeah, and like I said, he blocks in their car. So, obviously this guy's, kind of looking for a confrontation.
Well...
and it's it speaks to a larger sense of paranoia that I feel is very prevalent nowadays. I mean,
but is that paranoia?
It is. It is 1,000%.
Every day we are bombarded. Every single day we are bombarded with stories of people living their lives, going about their business, and some person with evil intent disrupts their life and does something to them. People are scared to death because of this atmosphere of criminality that has been allowed to flourish in this country.
Well, and then you could argue that that sort of criminality, that sort of hostile energy takes over these victims, and that's what motivated this guy to shoot his gun at this teenager. I mean, it's more and more. You say we see stories of crime, but we also, in the same sense, see so many stories of people who accidentally pull into the wrong driveway, pull up to a house to do some sales thing, and they get shot in the face by these crazy people who are so scared of someone coming up to their door. Like, that is just, I think, kind of shameful and just a real...
Let me push back on something else, though, Lizzie. This incessant need of your generation. Yes, I'm saying your generation, but it's not just limited to your generation. It goes to my generation, too. This incessant need to take the perfect picture. I need a picture. I got to have a picture of everything. I got to have a picture of what I ate because somebody I got to show the world what I ate for dinner, and et cetera, et cetera. As you said, we need a perfect scene to take the picture. So we go on someone's private. Now, yes, they were asking for permission. They were looking for permission. But why? Why? There are plenty of public places that you can go and take a nice picture. You don't have to go on somebody's private property to take a nice picture. Go find somewhere in public, take a picture and be done with it. That's number one. Number two, because they're a teenager, I have sympathy for that. But at the same time, I'm telling you, Lizzie, this fear that people have, people are not wrong to have fear for their lives in these day and ages. Every day, you're in the news business, you see it every day.
Yeah,
Somebody just going about their business, and the next thing you know, their life is over because some other person is evil.
Yeah, I think some fear is healthy, but I mean, to be so fearful that you have to attempt to take another person's life, I mean, I think that's kind of extreme. That's a bit much. I mean, I've been scared before, and I haven't brought out a gun. I've been scared before, and I haven't shot anyone in the face. Yet. I don't think I ever will.
Okay. Lizzie, let me turn the page on. Thank you for bringing that story to our attention, Lizzie. Let me turn this. Taylor Swift. Are you a Swiftie, Lizzie?
I go back and forth with her. I go back and forth. So, some of the music I do quite enjoy, but her personality, I go back and forth sometimes. I really support her. Really want to back her corner. Honestly, it's when the tide turns against her that I finally feel the need that I have to defend her and be a contrarian. And then once she gets really popular, I'm like, ugh. I've had enough of her.
When she gets really popular, I think this woman is more popular than almost. Okay, but anyway, so she endorsed Kamala Harris after she watched the debate. Big whoop. I mean, but okay, and now there were, of course, a spate of news stories about Taylor Swift, and then the residual stories. I sent you one this morning about how young ladies, your young girls are definitely more liberal and turning liberal, et cetera, are liberal. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that this, number one, you think there's going to be any backlash noticeable at all because Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala? Number two, I mean, does anybody really care? Does her endorsement carry weight among her fans? Is it that important? What do you think?
Well, Taylor has endorsed candidates who have lost before. I believe a Senate race, she endorsed a candidate who ended up losing. So, whether or not this will actually hold any weight in the election, I mean, only time will tell. But I have seen some backlash to that endorsement, actually. I saw a video posted online of a, I guess, former Swiftie who was burning all of her Taylor Swift merch and, wearing a Donald Trump T-shirt and hat and, kind of condemning her former idol for former pop star icon because she said that she was disappointed that Taylor Swift would do such a thing. But I mean, she has previously come out against Trump in her Miss Americana biopic, I believe it was, that was on Netflix. She said that she regretted not coming out and against him stronger in 2016.
Oh, okay. So this was really nothing new for Taylor Swift.
No, yeah, it's run of the mill. I mean, it was kind of expected. Most people were just kind of wondering if she was going to be public with an endorsement before the election, or if she was going to do some sort of retrospective. I wish I did. I wish I endorsed Kamala after the case. But I mean, she has come out now and, given this bump to the Harris-Walz campaign. And it, like I said, it's not really clear whether this will make a difference in the actual election, because more often than not, issues are what motivate voters to turn out to the polls over any celebrity. I mean, I wouldn't vote if, Miss Piggy, my favorite celebrity, told me that she was voting for Kamala. That wouldn't motivate me any more than the issues.
Gotcha. Lizzie, thank you so much as always. Always a delight, always a treat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lizzie. All right, James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley, here with you. More of your calls are coming up. 800-848. Who's this? Who's this?
This is Taylor Swift. I felt like because you and Lizzie were talking about it, it would be so improper to play one of her songs.
Thanks so much. James Golden, a.k.a. Snerdley, here with you, 800-848-9222. This is it? This is what gets $1 billion?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Billions of dollars? This? Yeah, okay, we're coming back. Keep it right here.
This is the James Golden Show. James Golden Show. 4 words that mean business. With James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Getting ahead, tomorrow anniversary, Otis Redding. Releases his 3rd studio album, Otis Live. The album mainly consists of cover songs by a bunch of other R&B artists, but this was one of his. Respect. Of course, Aretha Franklin turned it out. With the first version by the songwriter himself, Respect, Otis Redding appeared on his album. Tomorrow is the anniversary back in 1965. Carlos, you have a fan base. Your fan base is on it. They're like, please don't fire him for playing that Taylor Swift thing. Yes, it hurt my ears, but please let Carlos alone. I'm getting all kind of responses off this. I got another one. Here's OMG, my ears hurt. The hypocrisy of Taylor Swift and other Hollywood elites. Taylor's concerned about climate change. Her private jet emits more carbon in a single trip in your car in your entire lifetime. And that jet flew over 200 times last year. But it's your car that's causing climate change. Exactly. The same thing with Leo, what's his name? DiCaprio. This guy runs around whining about climate change, and then he's on one super yacht after another, the private plane, all the rest of it. It's like you first. You lead by example first. Then we might listen to some of you elites telling us that we're the problem because we drive a car to the supermarket. Exactly right. Okay, we have calls. We are going to get to calls, as I have said. But I want to bring this to your attention. This is, folks, please take this seriously. Because during this presidential debate, while we're all talking about the poor little ducks in Ohio that are getting decapitated and who knows what, poor little ducks. I mean, I do feel sorry for that. I talk about this all the ducks. I feel bad for the ducks. The little baby ducks don't even know how to say Aflac yet. And they're getting all chopped up and it is just rough. But there's other things going on in the world that require attention. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out this one. Here's the headline today from the New York Times. Biden hasn't let Kiev strike deep into Russia. Could Britain change that? The new prime minister over there in Britain, Keir Starmer. Why does that guy's name sound like German to me? Keir Starmer. Anyway, Keir Starmer is advocating and trying to convince Biden to allow ballistic weapons to be used. We should send ballistic weapons over to Ukraine so that they can strike deep into the heart of Russia. Putin, I'm saying Putin because some Northeast liberal friends of mine, the same ones that used to pronounce Bill Clinton's name Putin. Putin is saying, and no joke, Putin is saying, you guys launch these missiles over into the heart of Russia, and we are going to have war. We're going to war with NATO. We are going, and now who is NATO? NATO is us. Because the Europeans do not pay their fair share of the defense bills. Trump talked about this all the time and comes under attack. Came under attack even, I believe, briefly in that alleged debate. But Putin is warning, you guys keep sending these weapons into Russia. This is not proxy anymore. This is you striking us, and we are going to strike back. And now you have this new prime minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, who is advocating that we escalate this situation by sending ballistic missiles for you. And who knows what Joe Biden is thinking, if he's thinking. This thing could turn into something really bad, and it could happen really quickly. And I don't understand what the goal is from the United Kingdom to advocate trying to escalate hostilities with Russia at this point. I don't get it. Anyway, we have some first-time callers we're going to grab, as well as people that have been holding on for a while, so we're going to take more calls. Coming up later in the program, Princess Di will join us. Stay right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
(1974). Stevie Wonder starts a 2-week run at number 1 on the U.S. album charts with the release of this. The first single drove the album, fulfilling this first finale. It was the second number 1 album. This one got a bunch of Grammy Awards. But I remember this album from something else. At the time, this came in between after the success of the Inner Visions album, which massive hits on that one, and a car accident that almost took Stevie Wonder's life. I think he was driving somewhere. I don't know the highway, but anyway, the truck. I believe the car he was in ran into a truck, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever, he was in a coma, and they didn't know whether he was going to make it or not after this accident. And I remember reading one of the stories at the time. The first hint of relief came when somebody that was visiting his room, someone close to him, started singing. And he started moving his hand, tapping to the music. And they said, okay, he's going to pull through. Oh, Jackson 5 is joining the backgrounds on this one. So that's Jackson 5 singing in back of this particular song. This song, political, if you listen to it, you haven't done nothing. So funny, the things he's singing about all these years ago, we're still singing about.
But when misled, who knows a person's mind can turn as cold as ice. Why do you keep on making us hear your song? Telling us how you're judging right from wrong. 'Cause if you really want to hear our views, you haven't done nothing.
If you really want to hear our views, you haven't done nothing. Anyway, James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Let's head back to the telephones as promised. John in New York State, you're up next.
Bo, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Your combining music and politics is brilliant. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to your show like I do every Saturday morning, and you said that you never heard Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf. Some years back, I used to call in, this is probably 30 years ago, I used to call into a request station, and I would ask to hear Steppenwolf Monster, and they would not play it. It was censored. And I think everybody that's listening to your radio station and you should pay attention to the words in Monster. They explained what was going to happen and where we're at right now.
You know what's amazing? I am so, and I will look into it. You know what's amazing to me is when you say it explains what's happening, what happens right now. If you go back, as I do, and I listen to some of the music from the 70s, from the 80s, especially the 70s. And you, for instance, the Marvin Gaye What's Going On album, which was one of the first albums that had a theme. And the theme of the album was, he was a Vietnam veteran, this character that Marvin Gaye took on lyrically, coming back from the war and wanting to know what's going on in my country. What's going on? And then he talks, it goes through the drug addiction. One of the songs is about how he's hooked. This veteran is hooked on drugs. Then you have another one, Inner City Blues, makes me want to holler. And the lyrics to Inner City Blues, moonshots, spend it on the have-nots. It talks about the high taxes and how taxes are crippling his person, taking the money. The government gets theirs, but you don't have anything. You can't pay your taxes. Prices are so high. It talks about trigger-happy policing, things that are all these years later, we're still talking about the same things. You say Monster is that. I'm going to check out Monster. Born to Be Wild. I don't know why I said it. Of course I know Born to Be Wild. Maybe I didn't connect it with Steppenwolf. When I hear Steppenwolf, by the way, not the musical group, I think about the book by Herman Hesse. And I think about some of the other things. John, what a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you, my friend, for calling. And I will definitely check out Monster. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Let's go to another John in New Jersey who says, it says here you're a first-time caller, John. Hi, welcome.
Yes, hi. I started listening to your program when Rush was still here. I wish he was still here with you and all of us. He knew God. He knew Christ's word. And the Pope don't know God. You don't know his words. In the Bible, Christ says, do not stop my children from coming to him. And the worst sin that God holds, I believe, in his heart is thou shalt not kill. What is abortion?
Well, let me just say this. You know, you are swerving into something that I am still searching to explain in a deeper way than I have so far. When I said at the end of the last hour that the entire movement that Kamala Harris and her friends over at ABC, this doesn't happen in any state, they're wrong. But the entire movement is based on a lie. That this is so-called reproductive freedom. It is anything but. The mainstream media in this country has ignored stories that are horrific in nature. They have ignored what happened in Pennsylvania with Kenneth Gosnell, who is the number one serial killer in our history. It took Ann McElhenney and Philem McClear to actually tell the story of Gosnell, what happened right here in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. And it is grisly, it is ugly. You're talking about abortions that were conducted after babies were born. You're talking about women that died. It is a grisly story. He's behind bars now. But the left never really talked about that story because it was mostly black women that were the victims and their babies. They never talked about the real story of what happened with Planned Parenthood and harvesting. Sorry, folks, if this is graphic, and I apologize in advance, but this is reality. They never talked about the video that was taken, the videos out of the Planned Parenthood abortion mills, where they laughing about harvesting baby parts of aborted babies. This happened. And the people that actually brought it to light were prosecuted for bringing it to light in California, because we can't have that. So when you hear this false premise that we're involved in a debate on reproductive rights, it is anything but that. It is about a right that some people feel because of their ideology that they have a right to terminate life. Period. Life. Now, human beings, I believe, have a special place in creation. We have been blessed with the gift of consciousness. We have the ability to some extent, determine what we do with our lives, including to seek out a relationship with our Creator, however that manifests itself. I'm not here proselytizing one religion or any of that. But if you look, the common thread in almost every single religion on the face of the earth is that we as human beings should get to know, have a relationship with the power, the force, whatever it is that created us. That in Genesis, if you look in the Judeo-Christian world, that be fruitful, multiply, is part of the ethos of the morality that has been present in mankind almost since the beginning of mankind, recorded history of mankind. And you can go throughout the world. You can find it whether you study Judaism, whether you study Hinduism, whether you study Sikhism, whether you study Islam, whether you study Christianity, whatever it is, you can find this respect for the sacredness of life, that this is not an accident, that human life is treasured. It is something to treasure. None of that is present in the debate that the liberals offer us. They say this is about a reproductive right. It is not. It is anything but that. They tell us this debate is about what a woman can and cannot do with her body. Number one, that excludes the other half of the equation, because her body in and of itself cannot reproduce. There is a male involved, like it or not. There is a male involved, and that has been totally excluded from any of the debate in this. Secondly, it is not her body. It is someone else's body. That someone else has a quote-unquote right to life. So these are the things. And by the way, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about a debate. How can you debate this in a soundbite? Here, you have 2 minutes. Explain your views. Oh, we'll give you another minute for rebuttal. These conversations are conversations that need to be had where people can fully express themselves in a forum where the American people can hear the arguments and make up their minds. These current debate formats, with a finger on the scale from the hostette who happens to be a sorority sister of Kamala on a network where Kamala's best friend, and I just heard from one of my dear, dear friends, who says that the person who prosecuted those who exposed the baby organ harvesting in California was the Attorney General of the state at the time. Thank you. Kamala Harris was the one who prosecuted the people. The person who actually uncovered and had evidence that Planned Parenthood was harvesting baby parts. Kamala Harris was the one that used the law, that weaponized the law to go after the person that actually exposed what was going on in Planned Parenthood, how they were profiting off of selling human baby parts. So then don't tell us and tell me that these debates, these representations of what are supposed to be a debate on ABC or any other network is worthwhile. We have to demand better for ourselves and for our nation. You wonder why so many liberal young chicks out here can't articulate another side of the argument? Because they don't hear it. These discussions are not held in a meaningful way in front of the American public, and a debate is not going to do it in its present format. I am so done with this idea that these debates have value. Any real substantive value. Can they move the dial on an election? Yeah, but they are primarily set up to produce a gotcha moment for the news industry. They are primarily set up to produce ratings for a network. They are not set up in a way to inform the American public. It is time for a change. If I were a Republican candidate running for president, I would never take an invitation from ABC Network, from NBC Network, from CBS Network, from PBS Network, from BBS Network. They're all BS. Oh, we gotta go. This song is one of my favorites of all time from Stevie. This was on the Fulfilling This First Finale album as well. Minnie Riperton is singing background on this with Steve. the song. Luther did a cover of this. But it's such a beautiful song. Creepin', Stevie Wonder. From the Fulfilling This First finale album.
Why must it be that you always creep into my dreams?
The synth work that Stevie does on this is amazing. I haven't read the credits on this album in, I don't know, decades, but something tells me that this is Stevie playing drums on here too, because it just sounds like the way he plays drums, which is different than anybody else. He has his own way of doing things on the drums. The beautiful voice of Minnie Riperton in the back. James Golden Snerdley with you. It's our Saturday morning vibe. Keep it right here.
When I'm asleep at night, baby, I feel those moments of ecstasy. When you sleep at night, baby, I wonder, do I creep into your dreams? Or could it be I sleep alone in my fantasy? Oh, love is so amazing. Yes, you will be staying. So let it be that you always creep into my dreams.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
American musician Steve Gaines, born on this day, 1949. Guitarist. I just heard the group pronounced as Lynyrd Skynyrd. 1974, this was huge. Still huge.
Singing songs about the Southland.
Singing songs about the Southland. Absolutely Sweet Home, Alabama. Sadly, Mr. Gaines was killed in a plane crash on October 77. The crash also killed Ronnie Van Zant, Steve's sister Cassie Gaines, both members of Lynyrd Skynyrd. Oh, Neil Young will remember. James Golden, Bo Snerdley with you here. Let's head back to the telephones. Fred in Brooklyn, New York. You are up next. Hi, Fred.
Good morning, James. What a circle of life this is for me. I go back 30 years to you and Joel doing your show and being a listener and afraid to call in. And then over the years, over the 30 years, you actually put me through 4 times on the Rush Limbaugh show as a caller. 3 times with Rush. 3 times with Rush. Once with Tony Snow. And what made me call today is your guest yesterday, who also did a great job finishing up for Rush, put me through as the last call ever on the Rush Limbaugh show before it shut down. Rush changed my life, James. I initially called to talk about the debate, but your last your last call regarding the abortion. I was an orphan. I was raised by the state, and I opened my own business 32 years ago as a trial shot. And I turned on my radio at lunchtime one day, and there was Rush. For the next 35 years, I woke up knowing that Rush was going to be in the car with me at lunchtime. No matter where I ended up in New York, no matter what job I was on, come lunchtime, I knew he was going to be there for me. And he was the therapist, the one-sided therapist that got me through 35 years of marriage and raising 2 boys and changing my morality completely. For instance, I'm coming to the end. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't be sorry. You got me all watery-eyed.
James, I unfortunately aborted what would have been our first child out of 3.
Oh, no. But I hear you. Look, we got to run because the time is running out. But we're coming back for the 3rd hour. Thank you for the call.
The James Golden Show is on the air with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends. Hour number trio here on our Saturday morning vibe. James Golden with you, a.k.a. Snerdley. Mr. Snerdley. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800-848-9222. And if you are on hold, please stay on hold. We have some calls. I definitely want to talk with each and every single one of you. First, the one.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Our very own Princess of Policy, Diana Mee, former editrix of the Limbaugh Letter, who is now with me as often as possible. She and her royal entourage, including, yes, Lady Carla, you too, including Lady Benedict and so many others. And the Queen Mum is out there listening at all times. Princess Diana, welcome to today's episode. How are you, Your Highness?
I am delighted to speak with you, Sir James. You have been knighted by me, and you remain the Sir of the airwaves. I just wanted to, can I just say one thing, piggybacking off of the last caller before the break, about Russ and his importance. Yes. I have been hearing that and seeing that everywhere in the last week especially, and I wanted to quote from his brother from a tweet or a post on Wednesday night. Before we get into what we're going to talk about, I think this is probably one of the most important things I've seen in this campaign season on the internet from David Limbaugh. He said, "I rarely presume to speak for my brother, though I probably could quite accurately. I share his general sense of optimism about this, the greatest nation in the history of the cosmos. So let me say on Russia's behalf, with total deference and respect, we're going to save this country."
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
Channeling his brother, I think that is exactly what Rush would want him to say and would say himself. And I think that is something to hold on to, because so many of us hear nothing but criticism and doom and gloom and woe is me and all of the things that are true, the negatives that are facing us. But we remain, thanks to our national motto, we remain a country whose exceptionalism is because of our national motto, "In God We Trust."
Amen to that. You know, I was thinking before you came on, if I had time, I was going to thank you for something. You know, you have done this for the beginning for me, and I mean this in all seriousness. You always force me to think deeper about things and try to articulate them, especially when we disagree on something, or I perceive that we disagree on something, whether we do or not. And such is the case with this thing with the debate. You and I have been back and forth on this debate. Diana, I am convinced in my heart that this has to change. We no longer should, as a nation, put up with this spectacle of these phony debates driven by broadcasters who are in it for themselves, who, whether it's their political ideology or their ratings or their desire to see the country bend to their ideological perspective. We have to come up with a better solution to this. And that is what led me to go back and start researching the history of the debates, this Lincoln-Douglas debate that I talked about, where you don't need these moderators. How much better would it be to have a real conversation with the American people, with just the candidates talking themselves, period. And the moderators introduce them and step out of the way. Give one person the time they need, whether it's a half hour or whatever, give the other one. I don't care what we are at the point now where these soundbite driven debates, to me, are so detrimental to actually changing the core issues that affect this country. And I haven't arrived at the point where I'm putting pen to paper yet on this, but I will. We have got to demand a change. And part of the reason that I'm so now dug into this is because of our discussions. And you have done this for me from the beginning, and I thank you for it. You forced me to actually start thinking deeper about the things that these views that I hold, and try to find different ways to express them.
Wow. Well, I am so glad that I find you a deep thinker without any incentive from me. However, that is, a wonderful thing. You've always brought your love of history to every issue, and you did it again today. Now, my perspective is different. We do disagree specifically on the value of the Trump debate recent. However, ultimately, I don't disagree with anything you said. However, just to realize this is a snapshot in time. The media is not going to hold sway forever. It's already, the foundations of the old mainstream media are eroding underneath them, like when you stand on the beach and the waves erode the sand under you. So in time, this will change. For now, however, less than 2 months before this particular election, I think that is a discussion that can be had very fruitfully after the election for our next presidential debates. For now, we defend our guy. All of the criticism coming from our side, he should have said this, he should have done that, whatever, I think misses the entire point of what actually happened, where truth was spoken and lies were spoken. And the media immediately decided that the lies were wonderful. And yet the public I saw a headline on the Daily BS, your website, basically, Democrats are baffled why the debate didn't help Kamala. And right. Rich Barris, who's a pollster that I really like, he repolled the undecideds from his poll last week after the debate, and the undecided broke for Trump 2-1. And this has been happening in a lot of the focus groups. So what the people who deal in words, which is the media, their impressions and their decisions of how the debate went did not square with how ordinary voters and ordinary people saw what happened. As I said, you saw a man of strength who is still standing, and you saw someone who is basically a mean girl with her expressions and her nastiness, and that is like a souffle. It pops. And I had said this, you will have the celebrations of Kamala's performance, but it will not last a week. And I think that's what you're seeing. I think what actually actually happened, the issues that Trump discussed, despite the moderators, which was the economy, which was immigration, which was the national, we're heading for nuclear war, which he put on the table. He put them on the table, and those are the things that matter to people, and those are still on the table. What she said about all her issues have already vanished.
Well, let's talk about this. You alerted me to something that has since gone viral. This interview that she did went back to the ABC network and did an interview. And you asked me if we could play a portion of it. We have it ready. So we'll play the portion of it, and then please, Diana, have at it. Here we go.
When you talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn. And I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity.
What?
And that we as Americans have a beautiful character. We have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions.
Really?
So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business.
Okay.
I love one of the best reactions to this was the Trump campaign put it up the entire interview on the Trump War Room quoted, "Our newest ad just dropped," and they put the entire 11-minute interview up so that people will see this. It is unbelievable, James. It is unbelievable. She is wandering around in search of a coherent thought the entire 11 minutes. Now, interestingly enough, this interviewer, Brian Taff, who is a Philadelphia ABC affiliate anchor, was the same guy Obama used, and this is, let me quote from Brian Taff's profile on his Philadelphia Action News 6 ABC website. When President Obama saw his first term bogged down by souring polls, Brian was invited to the White House for an exclusive conversation with the president in the historic cabinet room. This was the guy Obama turned to in 2011 when his polls were in the tank. This Brian Taft. Now, clearly, Obama is stage managing, the Kamala's campaign and got this interview set up. And even these 5 simple questions, which were, softballs, they were, kind of supposedly to let her soar. This did not work because she cannot do it. And do you know my theory as to why she wanders around like this, meanders around, cannot make any sense? I had originally thought, okay, there are 2 Kamalas. One we saw on the debate stage, which was the practice, 2 weeks of practicing, that she had memorized answers, possibly had them ahead of time. We do not know. I think, no, I was wrong. I think there are 3 Kamalas. I think there's this Kamala, which we have seen a lot of on the internet, where she does the word salad. There's the practice Kamala, and then there's the real Kamala. My theory is the reason that she is so paralyzed when she's in these situations is that she's being deceptive. She's being inauthentic. She is tamping down her inner fascist because her real self, when she lets loose, is so scary and unlikable. And I had wondered if that soundbite from the 2020 campaign where she's talking about patents.
Wow. Here it is. We got that. The second cut, Carlos?
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
Whoa.
Now, there you have it. That is the real Kamala, which she cannot let out. The inner fascist is real. She cannot let the public see her. There is a reason that she has had 92% staff turnover, because it has been reported that the people are so beaten down by her. She attacks, and destroys people and has them melt and go into tears in person. That quote where she's talking about basically pharmaceuticals she was talking about, but it has been prefaced with, she says, for any drug where they fail to play by our rules, and if that drug came about because of federal funding, I will snatch their patent. Now, this is private property, and it will apply to anybody who has a patent, who has some sort of federal funding, which you can consider tax breaks. This is her attitude toward someone else's money. She will snatch it. And this is the real Kamala.
Wow. Diana, stay with us, please. Princess Di, we're coming back. Tomorrow's the anniversary of Rick Ocasek, the former lead singer with the Cars, passing away, found dead in his New York City apartment. The Cars, formed in Boston back in the mid-'70s. Of course, their big hits. This one, My Best Friend's Girl. Sleazy. Let the good times roll. And, of course, Drive. James Golden, Snerdley, it is the Saturday Morning Vibe. Princess Di is with us, going to be with us. Your calls are also coming up. Keep it right here and do not go away.
She's my best friend's girl.
Sleazeball.
She's my best friend's girl.
Scuzzy rat. Oh, well. Then he's the scuzzy rat. Not you.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Tomorrow, the 15th of September, is the anniversary of the birth of American songwriter and record producer Sylvia Moy. Sylvia Moy, the first woman to write and produce songs for Motown. This is one of hers that she wrote. I believe Stevie was a co-writer on this, but anyway, this is one of hers. I have in my own library, the Italian version of this. Stevie singing the Italian version of this. It's a little different than this. Yeah, but this is one of the all-time classics. Happy heavenly birthday, Sylvia Moy. James Golden, Snerdley with you, with my Shetty, Amor, Princess Diana. So, Princess, would you mind if I played that second soundbite one more time?
Go for it.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
Good grief. That reminds me of, do you remember Auntie Maxie saying that we need to take over the oil, what was it that she was talking about? Was it the banks or the oil companies? Auntie Maxie wanted to... Yeah, it's the same. She said...
That's their, it's communism.
Yeah, we'll take it over. She said that, I believe, about the oil companies. We just take them over. We need to nationalize it. Take it over. Okay.
That is the way of the left. Now, interestingly enough, I found this fascinating, and I'd like to know your opinion. We've seen it reported that Jill is not campaigning for Kamala, and we've also seen it reported that Michelle is not campaigning for Kamala. Also, Joe this week put on a MAGA hat at one of his little gatherings. So is there sabotage going on, do you believe?
I believe when Trump said he hates her, he was like, oh, come on. Really? Really? Yeah, we got to go, Princess Di. Thank you so much, as always.
Amen. Remember, we're going to save this.
The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Sherry, baby, Sherry. Sherry, baby, Sherry.
1962. The Four Seasons start a 5-week run at number one atop the singles charts in America with this one. The first American group to have 3 number ones in succession over in the UK. The Four Seasons on our Saturday vibe. Thank you again, Princess Di. America's small caffeinated mom is out on the road doing those wifely, womanly duties with the family. Yes, her son is, and we're glad to hear, by the way, he's okay. We played the soundbite last week after he collapsed during the court, was helped out on the track and was helped out by a very kind young man. And that story had a life of its own, got to the TV coverage out there in Indiana. So we're glad to hear that he's okay. Kieran is okay. And Rhonda's out this week with him again. And Rhonda will be back with us. It's going to be a few weeks. She's going to be out doing mom-wife duties. And we definitely support that here. Definitely. A woman's place, after all, is wherever she wants it to be. And let's head back to the telephones. Jay, first-time caller from New Jersey, is waiting, and thank you, and has been waiting. Thank you for your patience. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Very good.
How are you? Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Go right ahead.
Hey, so I want to talk about this debate real quick because I thought it was very interesting how they went against him in terms of the abortion. When they were asking him on stage, they flat out asked him, they go, would you veto a federal abortion ban? Right after he just answered to the entire country, it's a states' rights issue. So that itself was a loaded question, all on its own, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, and then he kept saying, look, this is a moot issue. I'm not going to answer. It's not going to happen. He went further. He said what they're saying would have to, and he's absolutely right, this would have to come from Congress. And in a divided Congress, no matter who wins the House or the Senate races, the Congress is still going to be divided. There will be no supermajority in either the House of Representatives or the Senate. And Donald Trump was absolutely right to say you would never get this bill passed in a divided Congress, so it's not even an issue. It's not going to happen. And yet, of course, the coverage is, he didn't answer. He did answer. He just didn't give the answer that they wanted.
Exactly,
That's all.
But we knew that We knew that when he went on in the first place. We knew ABC was going to do that. And especially with
Right.
Kamala, she had no substance. You know, if you listen to anything she talks about, she's basically tiptoeing around everything. And, you know, it's interesting enough. I think Trump, in a way, performed the way he did because he wants attention. You got to understand, the media doesn't make any money on Joe Biden or Harris. There's nothing to write about. That's why everything you look up online is the same story every day. The media makes money off of Trump because he's the only one that makes them money. So when they go after him, they like to go after, oh, he's low on money, blah, 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 blah. But he's getting cheaper advertising compared to Harris because he's getting more.
No,
exposure.
he's not. He is not. Oh, well, when you say cheaper advertising, I think what you mean to say is he's getting unearned media. In other words, he gets coverage, whereas and gets a lot more coverage. But in terms of paid advertisements, believe me, they're both paying out the nose for the media markets that they're advertising in, especially in the battleground states.
But,
Jay.
you know, like I'm saying, yes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, but like I was saying, no, especially with him hiring Tulsi Gabbard with this debate, I'm pretty sure there was a strategy behind how he reacted, because even if you listen to how she reacted, you know, she in general was, like I said, she tiptoed around everything. But then when she goes to attack him, like you said, she took his policy on foreign drilling and foreign oil. So she's wish-washing around it. And like you said, like one of your viewers said earlier, the independents are starting to lean towards him because they're starting to realize, she has had 4 years to do this. Why is she switching all of a sudden? And especially what they failed to bring up was that Biden was also thrown out of the Democratic Party. I mean, the guy was a savior to DNC 4 years ago, and all of a sudden he's just abandoned. I mean, this guy was
Trump
like
did a
savior of
masterful
Democrats.
job that got lost in the shuffle of saying that this woman did not have one vote in the primaries to become the presidential nominee. It was Joe Biden with the votes. Donald Trump did bring that up, and it was very effective when he did. Look, I hope you're right about this. And by the way, this now, these stories that are coming out about her internal poll numbers perhaps not resonating, and that's why they want very clearly a second debate. I think there's a lot to that. Jay, thank you. I'm glad that you were a first-time caller here. Hope to hear from you again. Sandra in New Jersey, you've been waiting almost from the beginning of the show. Thank you for your patience. How are you, Sandra?
I'm doing well, James. Thank you for asking. James, your very first call this morning said that he didn't think Donald Trump did well on the debate. Well, I tend to disagree with him. I'll tell you why. Donald Trump was dealt a very calculating deck of cards. And based on that, Donald did very well. He had all the substance we needed to hear. And even the polls show in substance he won. And also, I want to say something else that's important. I fact-checked it twice that ABC lost $37 million in ads because of the way this debate was conducted.
Where did you fact check that? Where did you fact check that?
I have to look it up, but I can text it to you when I look it up.
Okay, because I saw that story. Let me just tell you, from working in the media all these years, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Just like I don't believe there was some fake memo that was put out supposedly from ABC management with their logo on it, signed MTG or the management. And it's bogus. Crap is bogus. Look, number one, if you had all those sponsors dropping off of ABC immediately, that would be a news story that the media industry would not be able to contain. I don't buy it for a second. I think that there's a big difference between kind of the fluff that goes on the internet and some of these bogus stories that are put out there. And people in the media business, I don't think anybody in this media business believes that. I think it's wishful thinking. I think it's put out there. Look, strange. I think that ABC did a disgraceful job with the debate. I think that the disgraceful job speaks for itself. And I think that the way that people are upset with what happened with that. But I don't support these, what I consider to be, which is why I'm interested in your sourcing. When you find it, let me know. If I'm wrong, I will say, mea culpa, I'm wrong. But I'm not buying it, Sandra. I'm not buying it. So I'd rather just...
How do I text it to you?
Well, just you can always reach me at my @Bo Snerdley on Twitter. You can always DM me and just send me the information, and I'll get it that way. That's the easiest way. I'm on there when my account is open. I'm on there all the time. I was locked out a few days before the debate, and then because all of a sudden my two-factor authentication wasn't working. And then after the debate, I'm back in. Thanks to a good buddy of mine pulling some strings, I believe, as well. So, anyway, thank you, Sandra. I appreciate you calling. Thank you for your patience. As always, we appreciate you. Let's go out to the left coast of America in California and catch up with Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you?
Hi, James. Love you.
Thank you.
I'm just
what
a lady
is
in
on
waiting.
your mind?
Okay. Now, I didn't like the debate at first watch, but watching it the second day and whatnot, I did appreciate it a lot more. I just wish that he had been better prepped on those hot topic issues, such as the abortion and the immigration. Now, in regards to the immigration, they have to build the wall because that money was appropriated for 2024. So that's why the wall is coming up. But who needs a wall when she's flying them over? That's what he should have said. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't need the wall. They don't even need Tim Walt's 30-foot ladder. They can just fly him over like they're doing. So that issue is not really being addressed. That the border might look secure, but they're flying them in, and I think that should have been focused upon. And secondly, he always goes back to that Northam, I guess the governor of Virginia. And I kind of tune myself out. Yeah, I kind of tune out on that because I've heard it 1,000 times. He didn't have to go that far. All he had to do is reference Tim Walsh. He allows for that medical services to be denied to babies who have survived these botched abortions. He's had 8 of them thus far. And that's her
state.
running mate. Yes.
Right.
And that's her running mate, 2023. So they don't even keep record of it anymore. So he should have highlighted that. And I was just a little disappointed that the first night he didn't knock it out of the park with those facts. And I thought that he should have been better prepped on those. But the next day,
let me just say this. Let me say this about that. And I don't mean this in an insulting way to you or anyone else, because I do the same thing. I sit and I watch. I said, say this, say this, say this. When you are real time live in those situations and you are being hammered and you see what's going on, you see that phony fact check come up. You see this business. You're also catching the vibes of these moderators, and you know you're in the lion's den. It is not as easy as people might think to stay on point 100% of the time. And there are always, I wish I would have said this, I wish I would have said this afterwards. But I'm going to tell you something. The most effective thing that has happened out of these debates are, what are people talking about? They're talking about the level of unfairness that ABC exposed themselves to in the open. That's number one. They're also talking about the very issues that Donald Trump brought up. They're talking about the things on the fact checks that have now had to be walked back. So I think, as you say, in retrospect, I think there's a lot of good that came out of this debate. It didn't please everybody let's just be honest about that. There are a lot of Trump fans out there that say, wow, I wish he had done what they say better. But I think the reason that she is demanding or wants a second debate is there are a lot of people on her side that are saying, oh my gosh, Oh, my gosh, this is it? And there is no momentum on her side that has been built from this. So let's just add that in the calculation of it, too. I wonder if, by the way, Donald Trump said he's not going to do a second debate. Then yesterday he said, if I'm in the mood, maybe. So there's a crack in the door as to whether there will be another debate. Chris Wallace said today, CNN's Chris Wallace, there's no chance Vice President Kamala Harris will debate Trump on Fox News. Yeah, I wonder why. We're going to take a quick break. Coming back, we're going to have more of your calls. Stay with us.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
Yeah.
Some call me the gangster of love.
1990.
Some people call me Maurice.
Steve Miller Band goes to
The Pompatus of Love.
The Pompatus of Love goes to number 1 with the Joker. 16 years after it was first released. The song had topped out in the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 1974. Went to number 1 in the U.K. 16 years later. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here. More of your telephone calls coming up on our Saturday Morning Vibe. Do not go away.
I'm a smoker. I'm a midnight toker. I get my loving on the run.
The James Golden Show. The James Golden Show. It's politics, but theater of the mind with James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
So today is the anniversary of a show that took place at Sir Morgan's Cove in Worcester, Massachusetts. Little Blue Boy, or Little Boy Blue and the Cockroaches, were billed to appear. Now, this place holds 350 people. Over 4,000 people showed up to see Little Blue Boy and the Cockroaches because a local radio station announced that the Rolling Stones were in town. And indeed, it was the Rolling Stones at the gig. They were doing a secretive pre-tour warm-up show. So they just found the club that they could, a small intimate club that they could just do a warm-up before they went on tour. Word got out, 4,000 fans showed up. Police had to be drafted in to control the crowds. 11 fans ended up being arrested. Little Boy Blue and the Cockroaches had a very successful night.
James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
We're going to ask people to get to their points quickly so we can hear from as many of you as possible in our remaining moments. Let's go to Bob in Staten Island, New York. Another first-time caller. Bob, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. James, I remember when the League of Women Voters used to host the debates, and it seems like they did a fair job. They didn't show any bias, though. So why not have that grassroots organization do the debates instead of these big media companies who have a certain bias?
Well, see, the Presidential Commission on Debates took over after that because actually there were complaints back then about the way that the debates were being moderated, but nowhere near like it is today, Bob. Here's what I want. I want the candidates to go at it themselves. Never mind anybody hosting it. Never mind what I mean by that. No commission on the presidential debates, no league of this, no group, just the candidates. Show up and address the American people. I love that idea, but I hear you loud and clear, Bob. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Let's jump over to Freeport and catch up with Tom. Tom, how are you?
Hey, Bo. With our friend Taylor Swift endorsing and influencing all these young people, does she realize how much money is going to cost her in taxes as a billionaire to provide the support? And if, God forbid, Kamala gets elected, is she going to write a breakup song when she realizes how much she had to pay to her?
Let me ask you a question. Do you think she really cares? As you said, this girl's a multi-billionaire. Go ahead.
I think everybody cares about money. I think when she sees that tax bill, she's going to raise the prices for her concerts. You know, the Beatles song collection was worth, what, $800 million. Someone in the IRS is going to say, Taylor, your song collection is worth $600 million. You're going to have to pay a capital gains tax, and you haven't even sold it yet. I think he's going to come back and bite her in the butt.
But you hit the key word, Tom. You said it. She's going to raise prices. That's it. She's not going to pay it. Her fans are going to pay it. Tom, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Queens, New York, and check in with Dino. Dino, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Bo. I just want to make a simple point out there. I don't care what the man said up on the podium, and I don't want to put down Kamala Harris and say I don't like her either. I know what my pocket was doing the 4 years he was in presidency. My pocket, my family, what was on my table, how I was living with my children. And I know for the 3.5 years that she's been in office, what she has done. I'm sure I'm speaking for millions of others out there that feel the same way. So the man was calm. He didn't go out of control, but he had enough to. But I know what he's capable of, Bo. He has done it, and he's going to do again in the future. This woman presented nothing. It's really simple. It's black and white. What he said, what he should have said? No. He already did. He already had shown us what he's capable of. That's what I want to say, Bo.
Thank you. You said it well, Dino. Mark in Long Island, you're up next.
Yeah, Bo, the one point I keep hearing Democrats make is it's Biden, Kamala Harris, Anthony Weiner. They all say the same thing. Well, you know what? I will support, we'll get a national vote in, Congress will vote, and we'll get a guarantee for reproductive rights. What they seem to fail to understand is it was struck down by the Supreme Court. This would kind of be like saying, oh, okay, you know what? We just got rid of Plessy versus Ferguson. We've now passed Brown versus Board of Ed. But even though Congress said segregation is illegal, we're going to have Congress make a law saying that we can have segregation again. So the real point that Trump should have made was not only would you not have the vote, but you would need to go through a national referendum in order to have a constitutional amendment to have this abortion rights guarantee that you keep telling people that you're going to provide for them.
Well, I think he made the case effectively when he said, Congress can't do it. It's an impossibility. I think you're right on that. Joseph, 20 seconds. Make it count.
Okay, man. The thing that I'm worried about is Putin is threatening to whack it to us because...
That's right. We got to leave it at that point. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. See you next week. Bye.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.